All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Arlena Stabilo, and I'm part of the Davidson Institute team, and I'm your host for today. We're excited to be here with you this afternoon. And before we dive into the Fellows Scholarship Information session, I wanted to go over a few housekeeping points so you have an idea of what to expect in this session. So this session is intended to run for 60 minutes. The session will include a presentation and be followed by a Q&A. We'll do our best to address as many questions as we can in the time allotted. We'd like to point out that this is in a Zoom webinar setting and it is designed so that staff can share their video, audio, and screen, but attendees are in view-only mode. Please note that the chat feature of Zoom has been disabled. We do ask that you please direct all of your questions to the Q&A feature. Please stay through to the end of the session. You will then be directed to our post-event survey to help us gather feedback on your experience. And of course, a recording of this live webinar will be available on the Davidson Gifted website within a week. So now, just diving right into this session, I'm pleased to introduce you to Tacey Mosner, the Davidson Fellows Scholarship Program Director. I'll hand the presentation over to you now, Tacey. Oh, it looks like you're muted, Tacey.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yep.
Okay, great. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for coming to the Fellows Info session. So we'll get started. And I'm Tacey, and I run the program. So first and foremost on this first slide, the most important information is the deadline, which is February 11th, 2026. So mark your calendars. All right. What is the Davidson Fellows Scholarship? So it is a standard college scholarship that can be used toward tuition and related expenses at any accredited college or university. The scholarship amounts are $25,000, $50,000, and $100,000. And students have 10 years to use their scholarship money. This is not a recurring or renewable scholarship, but you have 10 years to use it. So hopefully it's flexible for you and your family. Like if you have other scholarships that you need to use first, or maybe you want to wait and save it for grad school, you have 10 years to use it. And so the disbursement of this scholarship is ultimately up to you and your family and whatever works best. And then also one other note is this scholarship, there's no fee to apply. Okay, who is eligible? Well, students just need to be 18 or younger as of the application deadline of February 11th, 2026. There's no minimum age for eligibility. So that means you don't have to be a senior to apply. You can be younger in high school or even middle school, and that's totally fine. You are eligible. So that kind of goes back to that the fact that the money is available for 10 years. So if you do win and you're younger in high school or middle school, then the money would be waiting for you once you graduate from high school. So that flexibility kind of comes into play. And then students also need to be US citizens or permanent residents residing in the US. The only exception to that rule is if your family is stationed overseas for military or government service. If that is the case, you're still eligible. The application categories, we have the STEM categories, science, technology, engineering, and math, as well as humanities, which is literature, music, and philosophy, and outside the box. Within the STEM categories, there are all kinds of the subcategories that you would expect, like biology or robotics or bioengineering. So there are all kinds of subcategories within the STEM more broad categories. And then outside the box, what is that? It is for projects that don't really fit in the other application categories. So, for examples from winners from several years ago, there was a student who applied and he had created a game that taught chemistry. So that was outside the box. A few years ago, there was a project in architecture, and that was outside the box. A couple years ago, a student applied and he studied the medicinal plants that the Maasai people in Africa use. So those are all outside the box type of projects. Something to note within these categories is projects that are community service are not eligible in any of the categories, including outside the box. And then other projects that are not eligible are projects in the arts, like visual art, dance, photography, theater, singing. These are projects that are not eligible for consideration for this scholarship. Additionally, we do not want to see homework assignments. Even if it's a great homework assignment and you got an A, that is not the level of work that we are looking for, as well as literature reviews. A literature review, you are synthesizing other people's work and then sort of reporting on it. And that is also not what we are looking for. The category requirements. Okay, so for the STEM categories, the science, technology, engineering, and math, they're all the same requirements of a formal research paper, a visual model, code, if you use code, and any supplemental information or documentation. So the visual model is the visual representation of your work. It can be graphs, it can be a PowerPoint, photos, whatever you think that it should be. Aspects, if you are a science fair person, you can use the visual aspects of your board. So the visual model is the best visual representation of your work. If you have questions about that, that's a good thing to talk to your nominators about. They know your project, so they can kind of help you narrow down what is the best visual way to represent it. The code, if you are using code in your project, we would like to see it. We would like you to indicate the code that you wrote versus the code that you acquired. We would like to see an index of your code as well as where the main code is. And then supplemental information or documentation. Maybe you're carrying your project forward and you have future work in mind. You can certainly tell the judges about that as supplemental information, or maybe you have a resume, or there's just some other information that you would like the judges to know. This is optional. You do not need to submit any supplemental information, but if you'd like to, that field is open to you. Humanities, literature, philosophy, and music. So you will submit a portfolio demonstrating breadth and depth in literature and music that will look like several genres being represented. And in philosophy, you will submit 3 to 5 essays on philosophic thought. Humanities, you also have supplemental information that you can upload. Again, it is optional. And then outside the box, it can be a portfolio or it can be a formal research paper, whatever is going to best represent your project. We leave that as wide open as possible since projects can be so variable. And then if you have questions about what to submit, you can always contact me and we can talk about it together. And again, the supplemental information and documentation upload is available if you are interested in anything else you would like the judges to know. The one thing that we don't want to see in the supplemental information are test scores. The judges aren't going to look at them. They won't be part of the review, so there's no reason to upload any sort of test scores. All right, so the category requirements. All applicants are going to submit these attachments. The other category requirements are more category specific, but these are all for everyone. So the process essay is attachment 1. So this is, we want to know kind of from A to Z, the idea, how you came up with the idea for this project, any problems that came up, any successes that maybe you were surprised by, how you worked with your nominators. So we want to kind of see the idea through to this finished submission that we are looking at, that the judges are looking at. So that will be your process essay. Your significance essay is pretty much that. What is significant about your project? For the literature applicants, you'll submit a literacy narrative. And for the music applicants, you'll submit a reflective essay, but they pretty much kind of revolve around the same significance. They're just a little bit more humanities focused, those prompts for those essays. And then your attachment 3 YouTube video. This is the conclusion of your video. It's going to put a face with the project. Is there anything that you really want to draw the judge's attention to? Anything you want to reiterate? Any highlights that you want them to focus on? You can talk about that in your YouTube video. And then for all of these attachments, there are prompts in the category requirement checklists. There are prompts for the essays and the video. So you can use those to help you structure your essays and your video, give you some ideas of what to cover. So those prompts are available to you. They're suggestions. You don't have to use them, but I think that they are helpful for a lot of students. The project criteria. There are a few things to go over here. Project criteria, you can see from the bullet points that we're looking for high-level work that has the potential to benefit society. So, creativity, new idea, prodigious performance, they all get to the main point of a big socially relevant project. So that's what we are looking for. A question I get a lot with project criteria is, I have a theoretical project, it's still in the theoretical phase, am I eligible? And typically, no. If you just kind of have an idea, swirling around, you don't really have any proof of concept, data, results, anything like that. So there's nothing really for the judges to assess. So if you are still in the theoretical phase, run with it and maybe apply in 2027. Because there's just nothing for the judges to really look at. And another question I get is, my project's about halfway through. And so I always ask, well, do you have any results, data, proof of concept? And if they say yes, then I say definitely apply. You have something for the judges to assess. If they don't, if you're not quite there to that halfway point, then again, keep going and apply 2027. So pretty much the judges just need to be able to assess something. So if there's nothing for them to really look at, then keep going and apply the next cycle. And then, so a special note to the students that I met at ISEF or are joining us from ISEF that participated in the Regeneron International Science and Engineering Fair, as well as the Science Talent Search. Your projects are fantastic and they are at the level that we are looking for. So you should certainly apply. You have most of the hard work done. So definitely apply for this scholarship because you have these projects. So you might as well continue to go for it. And then also a word about intellectual property. The intellectual material that is in your applications is yours. it remains yours forever. The Davidson Institute and Davidson Fellows Program have no say in it. It does not get transferred to us when you apply for this scholarship. It remains your intellectual material. That includes things like code, methodology, all of that remains your intellectual material. The judges sign a contract acknowledging that the materials they are going to review are the student's intellectual property. So just make sure that you know that. I get that question a lot, so I want to really drill down and make sure that you know that your intellectual property is protected. And now some students, they are in the patent process. If you are in the patent process, that is congratulations, that is wonderful. But you still have to submit all of the requirements. A lot of students who are in the patent process feel like they can't submit maybe code or methodology or other materials. But if you absolutely cannot, then just don't apply because if you apply and you don't submit all the requirements, then the judges are just going to see it as an incomplete application and your judging process will be concluded. So if you are in the patent process, please submit all of the requirements. And then as far as the what you see on the website, as far as the project descriptions and project information that you see on the website, the winners provide that themselves. We don't write any, we don't include any data, any code, any details of the research that students submit on the website. We don't publish anything in any way. Everything that you read on the website about what students have submitted, they have written themselves. So, so we don't, everything is general as far as the descriptions of everyone's projects. All right, so judging, the big question, what are judges looking for? In addition to the criteria that we went over, they're looking for complete applications. So make sure your files are labeled and uploaded to the correct spot. There's a lot of stuff that you have to upload, and there's a lot of material that's required. So make sure that you just slow down and make sure, say, your formal research paper goes in the formal research upload spot, and your process essay, it goes to the process essay spot. So just slow down and make sure that you are uploading the correct materials to the correct upload fields. The attachment 3 video, make sure the link is unlisted and not private. If it is private, we can't view it. So some judges will email me and say, this link is private and I can't open it. Can you email the applicant? Which I will do. And then I'll get a new link. But some judges don't do that. You know, if you're in an application category that there are a lot of, the judge is sitting with a stack of, say, 50 applications, they are going to look at that and say, well, this student didn't follow the directions. I can't open this link. And so therefore, they didn't follow the directions, and therefore the application is incomplete and the judging process is over for this student. So make sure your project, your video is unlisted. And there are directions on how to do that in the category PDFs. The requirement checklist down at the bottom of that long document are instructions on how to make that video unlisted. And then who are these judges? The judges are 99% of them are professors, and they are professors in the field you are applying in. So if you are submitting a physics project, you will go to the physics panel. A music portfolio will go to the music panel, and so on. So these are judges with a lot of experience, and most of the judges they come back year after year. I use the same judges over and over again. They know what they're doing, they know what to look for. So they have a lot of experience with this program. And then the judging criteria, it's based on reaching 100 points. 50 points on quality and scope, 30 points on significance and 20 points on depth of knowledge. So they score based on that rubric. All right, so nominators. I'm going to spend a minute on this because I always get a lot of questions about nominators, and it's very important. Two nominators are required, period. If you are an individual applying for this scholarship or a two-person team, two nominators are required. Nominators should be people who are familiar with your project. You can go to the How to Apply page on the Davidson Fellows website, and there's a sample of the nominating form on the How to Apply page. Read through those questions that your nominators are going to have to answer, and then think, okay, well, who's familiar enough with my project to be able to answer these questions? So think about that, and then think, well, who is reliable enough that I trust will be able to fill in the form and get it submitted by the deadline? So you want nominators who are not only familiar with your project, but are trustworthy and will not flake on you, and will follow through and submit their forms by the deadline. If you are missing a nominating form or two, after the deadline, you're automatically disqualified. There's no exception to that rule. So just make sure that you think about your nominators sort of in that two-prong way, that do they know about my project and do I trust them? So with that said, you can monitor your nominators in the application system. You will send them their nominating form through the system, and then you can see if they have you've sent the form, if they have opened the email, if their form is in progress, and if it's been submitted. So you can kind of keep track of what they're doing. And then if you decide that you maybe are kind of starting to suspect that this nominator is not going to make the deadline, you can replace them. Don't wait. If you start to think that this nominator isn't going to make it, if they're sick or if they're out of town, whatever the case may be, you can replace them. And there are instructions on how to do that in the application system. You can also resend them the forms so that the email comes back up to the top of their inbox, as a little nudge to remind them to fill out the form. So just keep track of your nominators, remind them. Everyone's busy, so just do them and yourself a favor by keeping up on them. And family members cannot serve as nominators, period. Family members can't be impartial, so their nominators aren't super helpful. But great nominators are high school teachers, professors, school counselors, grad students, anyone like that. So that leads me to another point. So you're a student who worked by themselves in your garage. You created a lab in your garage, and you didn't really have any adult supervision on your project. That is amazing. And you are certainly welcome to apply for this scholarship, and you should apply. But what I usually suggest students do, because this does come up every year, there are lots of students who worked solo. I usually suggest to them to go to the How to Apply page, read through the nominating form, and then go find a couple of people who will nominate you. Educate them about your project with the nominating form questions in mind, and tell them the deadline, and then you will detail that in your process essay. So that process essay, we want to know if you work closely with someone, that's great. If you worked by yourself, that's great. We'll want to know, oh, this nominator doesn't really know very much about the project. And then we read the process essay and we're like, oh, okay, they work solo and they found these two nominators to essentially fulfill the requirements. So that's fine. The judging panel and staff are completely used to seeing students who have worked by themselves, and that is great. Just make sure that you detail that in the process essay so that we know. So that helps us kind of round out the picture. All right, so the process. This is a two-part process. The Davidson Fellows application is two parts. First, you'll create your account. We use the submittable application platform, so you will either create an account or maybe you already have one and you'll log in. And you'll fill out the initial portion, part one of the application. And that just has your demographic information and your project information. So your name, address, and all of that, as well as your category, subcategory, project title, and project description. And then if you are using biological materials or human subjects, any sort of supporting documentation, you will upload that in part one. ISEF forms are perfect. You can use your ISEF forms if you are using biological materials or human subjects or whatever forms, they will be submitted in part one. So then you submit part one and it takes 1 to 2 business days for staff to review. And then you are approved, or maybe we have questions, but you're approved. And then you have access to part two of the application. And that is where the meat of the application is. So this is also where you are going to input your parents' information and your nominators' information. We need one parent approval form. It's just a quick form saying that the parent acknowledges that they know that you are applying for this scholarship, as well as you're going to input your nominators' information and send them their forms. This all happens in part two, as well as all of your category requirements, your research paper, your portfolio, your videos, your essays, all of that comes into part two. And then all of it, your requirements, your forms, your parent forms, your nominating forms, all of it needs to be in by the deadline. So make sure that you get part one done so that you can get through to part two, because that's where it's going to take all your time and is important to get access to as soon as you can. And timing and what to expect. So again, that part one, 1 to 2 business days for staff to look over your application. We try to go as fast as possible so that you have access to part two. So, but still get that part done. And then after the deadline, judging starts right after the deadline and runs through the end of June. And then notification of all applicants is win or lose is late June, early July. This year we had about 900 applicants, and there are 20 winners chosen every year and some honorable mentions. So if you look at this year's website, you'll see there were 21 winners. Well, there are 20 scholarships available. This year we did have 21 winners because one scholarship went to a team. And then if you are not named as a Davidson Fellow, you're welcome to reapply as long as you are age eligible of being 18 or younger as of that year's deadline. And you can reapply with the same project provided that it has been expanded, or you can reapply with a brand new project. Teams. Okay, so teams are eligible, 2 people max. 2 people is it for teams. Both team members must meet eligibility requirements of being 18 or younger as of the deadline, and both must be U.S. citizens or permanent residents residing in the U.S. unless there's an exception for government service. And once a team, always a team. So what does that mean? That means if a project was completed as a team, an individual can't apply with that group project. So if you are a 2-person team and one of the team members says, I don't want to apply or isn't eligible or whatever the case may be, the remaining teammate cannot submit that project. You cannot submit a project as an individual that was completed as a team. If you do that, that's academic dishonesty and is grounds for disqualification. So once a team, always a team. Scholarship money will be split evenly between the 2 team members. As with individual submissions, 2 nominators are required. 2 nominators are required of everybody. There is no advantage to applying as an individual or a team. It doesn't really matter. And then importantly, with the teams, please email that email address listed there before you start your application. The submittable application platform doesn't handle teams very well, and so there are a few extra instructions that I send to teams, but it's really important that you get that information before you start the application. And this is a big question I get a lot. What makes a successful applicant? Um, it's a lot of reading. There's a lot of information to go through, so please read the application, the category requirements, and the how to apply and FAQ pages. There's a lot of information, yes. So take a half an hour and just sit down and carefully read through everything. Again, with the choosing the reliable nominators. I hate disqualifying students because they have held up their end of the bargain, but their nominator flaked on them. So make sure you monitor and choose good nominators. Proofread your submission and double check all your files. So again, make sure that you are uploading all your materials to the correct upload fields. And then proofread your submission. You've been working on these projects forever. You've probably read them 1,000 times. At this point, you might be a little bit blind to any errors. So have someone with fresh eyes look everything over. Some of the judges are real picky about applications and they don't like sloppy applications. So if your project is full, if your application is full of errors and grammar mistakes and all kinds of things, they don't like that. So make sure everything is neat and tidy, everything's uploaded to the right spot, and have someone proofread your work. Check your email. The Davidson Fellows Program will communicate with students exclusively via email. So you'll get emails through the submittable application platform as well as from staff. These emails are important. They could be progress emails like your application has been approved to part 2, and you can continue working on it. Or maybe staff has questions about your application, or a judge has questions about your application. Or maybe I have bumped the deadline by a couple of days, which I have done in the past. You want to check your email so that you know about all of this. So make sure you check your email often and regularly. Don't self-plagiarize. So this means if you are reusing the same project to apply for the Davidson Fellows Scholarship that you've used to maybe you're being published, you're in preprint, anything along those lines, the patent, we just want to know about it. Some judges, again, are kind of fussy about the self-plagiarizing. They don't like it if you don't acknowledge the fact that you're reusing work. There's no problem with reusing work. We just want to know. And then on the opposite end of that, if you haven't been published, you don't have to be published. You don't have to have been published to apply for this scholarship. Um, the students who are published or in that process are in the minority for sure. There are lots and lots and lots of really amazing projects that haven't been published. So it is not a requirement, but some students are in that process. So just let us know about it. And then, of course, don't leave everything to the last minute. A strategy that might be useful is if you mark your calendar for February 11th and then work backward from there and be realistic. How much time do I need to write my papers, my essays, do my video? How much time do my nominators need to fill out their forms? Be realistic about how much time this is going to take and then give yourself more time. So it's stressful. Don't do that to yourself to wait until the last minute. Don't, wait until February 10th. Um, that just doesn't give you enough time. So don't wait until the last minute. But do contact me with questions. That's my job. I am here to help you with this process. There's a lot. And if you can't find the answer to your question quickly on the website, just contact me. I am here to help you. And that goes for anything you're applying for, other scholarships you're applying for, college, whatever. Ask, contact administrators. We are here to help you be successful candidates for whatever you're applying for. And then a few quick FAQs. I wasn't sure where to fit this in my presentation, but projects with human subjects are now eligible. This is new for 2026. We're super excited about this. Um, Projects with human subjects are eligible. You do need to submit your IRB paperwork, and you will do that in part one of the application. But we're excited that students who are working with human subjects their projects are now eligible for the 2026 cycle. And again, individuals in two-person teams are eligible to apply. Again, 2 nominators are required whether you are applying as an individual or two-person team. Students can apply with one project only in one category only. If you are one of those people who have a couple of projects, pick the strongest one to apply. This is a competitive scholarship, so use your strongest project. And AI cannot be used to compose music, write essays, or project portfolio materials. The submission must be the applicant's own words. And contact me. So this is my contact information. I am happy to help. I love talking to students. So please contact me. You can take a picture of this slide. Those are both my email addresses and my phone number. So definitely reach out if you are having any problems at all. And then I have one more slide. Thank you for coming and listening to this presentation and learning more about the Fellows Program. Importantly, the 2026 application will open in less than 2 weeks on November 3rd. And again, the deadline is February 11th, 2026, 11:59 p.m. Pacific time. So I'm going to go back a slide to my contact information. And then I think that if anybody has questions, we're open for questions now.
Thank you, Tacey, for the presentation. And yes, we are open for questions now. Audience, if you have any questions, please feel free to type them into the Q&A section, and we'll do our best to answer as many questions as we can. Awesome. And first question we have, Tacey, is can money be used for room and board?
Yes. Yeah, so you can use the scholarship money for tuition, room and board, and professor mandated supplies. The only thing you can't use it for is travel. If you're going to the Galapagos Islands and you can't use your scholarship for the flight, but if it is a degree seeking class that is in the Galapagos Islands, then you can use your scholarship to pay for that tuition, just not the travel.
Awesome. Next question is, can you use the funds in high school?
Yes, yes. So if you are in going to private high school and it's going toward tuition, yes. Other high school expenses, you might have to email me about that. And I would ask our financial assistance department if, depending on what the you would be using it toward, I would have to double check.
And next question is, can a Davidson program participant partner with a non-Davidson participant?
Yeah, so that sounds like maybe you're a young scholar or something like that. Yeah, you don't have to be a participant in any other Davidson programs to be eligible for the Fellows Scholarship. The Fellows Scholarship is open to everyone. Going back to the eligibility criteria of being 18 or younger and a U.S. citizen or permanent resident. So you don't have to be enrolled in other Davidson Institute programs to be eligible for this scholarship.
Awesome, thank you. And then next question, just to clarify, for the STEM category, project posters are acceptable as a visual model? Question mark.
Yes, yeah. So if you just want to maybe break down the posters, don't just take a big picture of the poster. You can maybe make it into a PowerPoint with its individual components, and that'll work great. You just want to be able to make sure that the judges can see what you are trying to have them see. So you don't want your photos to be pixelated or hard to read or anything like that. Make it easy on the judges. They have a lot to review. So, you just want to make sure that your board is as easy to read as possible.
Awesome. And next question is, what qualifies as a music category if arts does not meet the requirements?
Arts, it's more visual arts. So music, we're looking for within music, there are composers, classical instrumentalists, and other instrumentalists. But arts is more of the visual arts or photography or things like that. But with musicians, you are going to submit a portfolio demonstrating breadth and depth. And with a variety of genres, you need to prove that you can read music. You would have an audition format video, which is 45 minutes with 3 or 4 genres represented, as well as a public performance. And then the essays and the attachment 3 videos, so the same attachments. So yes, arts does incorporate music, but we're thinking more of the visual arts that are not eligible.
Awesome. Next question is, does a formal research paper need to be published paper in a journal? And what constitutes for this portion?
Nope, it does not. So students who are being published or have been published, they're definitely in the minority in the applicant pool. But just because some judges don't like to see students submitting the same work that's already been published, so no, absolutely not. You don't have to be published, but if you are, just make sure that you acknowledge so that you're not self-plagiarizing. But most students have not been published or are in that process at all. But some are, and either way is great. Working at this level as a high school student is amazing. So everyone is eligible.
Awesome. Next question. I'm just going to jump around here. We have some questions about the YouTube video. What is the length of the YouTube video? Does it need to be 3 minutes or 5 minutes? Question mark.
10 minutes max. Don't go over 10 minutes. Some students go, if you go a couple seconds over, that's one thing, but some students go way over, and that irritates the judges. And it is up to them if they want to disqualify someone for going way over. 10 minutes is the max. So it can be shorter. If you are going 3 minutes or 5 minutes, that's fine too, but 10 minutes max.
Awesome. And another YouTube question. Does the video have to be from YouTube or does any video work of the specified video format?
Um, so what, like a presentation that someone videotaped of you doing like a TED Talk or something like that? Yeah, you can submit that. That's okay. Um, if you don't have anything else, uh, the judges, that'll work fine. Just make sure that you kind of acknowledge that you're going to use a different type of format. So yeah, that works fine. A lot of students, if they've given a presentation at school or something like that about their project, they use those videos and that works fine.
Awesome. Another question about the video. Will the judges view the video before or after the other submissions?
So with the video, uh, they they'll view it unless they have already decided that the application maybe isn't ready, is not going to be a contender, and they have already eliminated it from consideration. So if they've already eliminated it from consideration, then they may not even watch the video because the materials they have deemed not ready, so they might not view the video at all. But most of them will look at the videos. Yeah, so and then it's just up to the judges. Some of them may look at it first or last. It is up to their process.
Awesome. Okay, next question is, are the 20 winners out of all of the categories, or sorry, are the 20 winners out of all of the categories? If so, how are the number of winners in the categories decided?
It is s- it is dependent on what the judges recommend. So not we don't necessarily have maybe we don't have a literature winner one year if the the pool of applicants isn't super strong. It is just based on the recommendations of the judging panel. So with this particular scholarship, the STEM categories really dwarf the other. They make all the other categories kind of very small in comparison. So definitely the winners are STEM heavy. Um, so there are more STEM winners, but that's just because there are more STEM applicants. But maybe there's not, maybe the physics pool was a little weak, so there aren't any physics winners, or maybe it was really strong and there are three or four. So it just depends on the pool itself. There are not a predetermined number of scholarships per category or subcategory. So it just depends on where the strengths lie in every year.
Awesome. The next question is, do I need to call out if my paper has been submitted for publication but not yet published?
Yeah, please do that. Just because, the deadline's in February and judging takes a while. So by the time the judges are going through all the applications and it's ascending rounds of judging, maybe by the time it's late May and maybe your paper has been published by that point. So if you are going to be published, or you have submitted your paper to be published and you haven't really heard back, just let us know. Because things will have changed possibly by the time in between the deadline and the time that maybe the last judge is reviewing the application.
Awesome. And then we have some eligibility criteria questions. This one is, my son is a US citizen. He is living outside of the USA for the moment, not in the military. Is he still eligible? They have a US address.
If you have a US address, that's fine. That's fine. That comes up once in a while. As long as there's a US address that then that'll work.
Awesome. Okay. The next question is there a limit to how much supplemental information or documentation for STEM categories that can be submitted?
Um, I mean, what do you want? How much more do you want the judges to know that isn't already in your paper? Um, so you can email me and ask what are the specifics, like what else do you want? What are you thinking of uploading? Uh, yeah, you typically it's going to be future work or resume, but it's not going to be much more than that. So, um, but email me and let me know what you specifically had in mind, and then I can let you know if that should be maybe part of your application materials or if it should be uploaded at all. So yeah, just let me know.
Awesome. Next question is for music. Can a music score for an event or short film be used? Is a prodigious performance enough? And if so, does it have to be all original compositions?
Well, yeah, if you're applying as a composer, you need to have composed the music. You can't submit someone else's composition. And a score for a short film, that's fine. Uh, for composers, you need to have at least three scores. So, but yeah, a short film would be good. But yeah, don't submit someone else's scores, someone else's compositions. Composers need to submit original to them work.
Awesome. Next question is, are we allowed to submit our research to a journal or continue developing and writing about it while still applying for the Davidson Fellows Scholarship?
Yeah, sure. If the fellows deadline comes at a time in your research where you're going to submit where you are right now as of February 11th, but you're going to continue on with your work, that's fine. And then you're going to submit to a journal, go for it. You can just let us know, like your future work. You can say, I'm continuing to work on this, and if I get to a certain point by this certain date, maybe that I'm going to try to submit it to a journal. Just let us know. It's not a hard and fast rule. We just like to kind of know what else is going on with this research.
Awesome. Thanks, Stacey. We have a few questions about teams that I'm trying to pull up for you.
Okay.
One of the questions is, we did a project with a team of 3 for an ISEF project. Can we submit that if we are a team of 3, or can we submit it with 2 of us instead of 3?
Nope. None of that is eligible. Three-person teams are not eligible. And so if 3 people worked on a project, but 2 people submit it, then you are effectively taking credit for that third person, which is academic dishonesty and is grounds for disqualification. So that goes back to once a team, always a team. It doesn't matter how many people are on the team. You can't shave off a team member or 2 and then the remaining people submit, because that's definitely grounds for disqualification. So a 3-person team cannot apply. Your project is not eligible. Sorry.
Awesome. Thank you. And then we have a question about residency again. Can you be a legal resident and not permanent resident to apply?
Um, you can email me. You need to, if you are a permanent resident applying for this scholarship, you need to upload a copy of your permanent resident card. So if you do not have that, then you can email me and let me know like, what your status is. Um, so I know that some people have been granted permanent residency, but maybe they don't actually have the actual green card in hand, but they have the letter saying that they have permanent residency. So you can email me and we can discuss in more detail.
Awesome. Next question is, can you use the money for graduate school? And if you submit in the music category, for example, do you need to use the money towards a degree in music?
No. So yes, you can use the money for grad school, and your project does not have to match your major. So if you got a scholarship, a fellow scholarship in music, but you are a chemistry major, that's fine. It does not need to match at all.
Awesome. And then we have one question is, are some of the previous scholarship winners' work exhibited somewhere online? If so, where?
Well, we have on the Fellows website, we have descriptions that they wrote of their work. If their papers are somewhere else, you would just have to Google them. And if their papers are somewhere that maybe they've been published or anything like that, but you can probably just Google them and see if you get any results.
Awesome. Okay. This question came in. Are there any guidelines surrounding using research done at a paid university research program?
If you have participated in a paid research program, we ask that you let us know what that program was. We just want to know. It's the paid research programs. It's probably good that this has been brought up. With paid research programs, we're looking for transparency in the program itself. We just want to make sure that students when they are looking for at paid research programs that everything is transparent to them, like costs. The program should not promise that the student will win a scholarship, whether it's the Fellows Scholarship or whatever scholarship, or entry to certain programs. Paid programs are great, but you want to make sure that if you participated in one, just let us know. And if you're looking for one, that they are transparent in their pricing and what you get out of the program, and that they don't promise outcomes that are beyond their control.
Awesome, thank you. And then we have a question that asks, can you submit the same project you submitted for the Regeneron Scholarship?
Yep. Yes. Yeah. So ISEF students, ISEF and STS students who participated in the science fair in May. Yes, absolutely. Use that project for all you can. You put a lot of work into it. You should use it to apply for as many scholarships as you can. Submit it to journals to see if you can be published, whatever. You've put a lot of work in. So absolutely, students who participated in ISEF and STS, your projects are absolutely eligible and you should apply.
Awesome. Next question is it okay to upload personal resumes, which would include my research experience as part of additional application materials?
Yep, yeah, sure. That's great to know. It's interesting. It won't be part of the actual evaluation that the judges, won't be part of the score, the 100-point score, but it's great to know a little bit of background information that sort of fills out the picture of the students. So absolutely, yeah, upload your resume.
And we have another question asking, can you please speak to the level of the project's quality and impact? Is this something similar to a PhD thesis? Can you elaborate?
Yeah, a PhD thesis for sure, a graduate student level work. And as far as the social relevance, the potential to benefit society. So it doesn't necessarily have to have been, I mean, students are young, so their projects, they haven't gone to they haven't been rolled out in real life yet, but is there the potential that they could be? That's what we are looking for, the potential. And if you are sitting here listening to this presentation, chances are you are at that level. And you can read about the past fellows on the fellows website. You can read about their projects to kind of get an idea of what we're looking for. But um, if you might as well apply. There's no harm. There's nothing to lose by applying. If you have materials that you think are at the level that could possibly win a scholarship, apply. It's good practice. It's a good thing to do. But it just has to have the potential.
And then we have another question for military families applying. Does the military FPO/APO address outside of the US okay to use when applying?
Yep, yep, that works fine.
Okay, next question is, if my kid has an academic paper published, the paper has two authors. If the first author is my kid and the second author is an adult who provided advice, is this research work qualified for the application?
Yes, first author, that's great. And then in their process essay, they can talk about how the second author, their role. Or it could be that as staff, we may email the student on the judge's behalf to ask, like, well, what was or maybe staff just emails out of curiosity, what was the role of the second author? But typically with first author papers that are the first author is the actual applicant, that's great. And then they can just let us know the role of the second author, the adult in the process essay. Yeah.
Awesome. And this is going to probably be our last question, and it's about a nominator. How should nominator forms be filled out to maximize the possibility for success? In other words, how should nominators respond to questions in the form?
Um, Truthfully, in as much depth as they wish, but those questions give staff and judges insight into how the project was completed. So again, if the nominators are familiar with the project and they can answer those questions in depth, that is helpful. And if the student didn't work with anyone at all, just let us know. That information is valuable as far to the judges for sure. So just in as much depth and honestly they to be honest with their assessment of the project and student.
Awesome. Thank you, Tacey. Before I wrap up this session, did you have any closing statements about the Fellow Scholarship for your audience?
No, it just thanks for coming. And again, if you have questions, certainly contact me. And I can help you through the process, or if you have questions about your project. But yeah, so again, the application will open on November 3rd. The deadline is February 11th. And my contact information is up right now, but it's all over the website too. So yeah, good luck and just apply and see what happens.
Awesome. Thank you again, Tacey, for the wonderful presentation. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. A recording of this session will be on our public website within a week, and it'll also be posted to our Davidson member community within the week as well. We hope you all have a great rest of your night. Thank you again, Tacey. Bye,
Bye.
everyone.
Thank you.